Hello, hello. Welcome back to the Freelance Friday podcast. Today, I want to talk about a little bit more of a heavy topic, and that's mental health. I got a question recently on an Instagram questions box that basically was asking, what do you do, or have you ever felt this way where you just like have no motivation, are uninspired? And yes, like raise your hand in the chat if you feel like it, or the comments if you care to share. Like, I think most of us have been there and it's not something that we really talk about very much. I think in general, culture is finally getting around to like taking mental health seriously, just as serious as physical health. And I think in this space, we've got to talk about these things because I didn't plan for them until they were here. And then I was like, oh my gosh, what do we do? So obviously, this conversation is not a substitute for mental health advice. It's not a substitute for therapy. This is where I wish I had a BetterHelp sponsorship because it would go really well right here. But yeah, I am a big proponent of seeing people who are licensed and know what the heck they're talking about. I just am going to be talking about my own personal kind of experiences with taking time off and really reducing my workload due to mostly mental health issues, because that is something that I recently did and kind of have done and am doing. I'm really prioritizing my mental health in this season of life, which is scary because it means that I'm having to make choices. And we're going to talk about that. But really, I think that's my first tip is to be aware of your mental health, to take it seriously. And for me, that does mean going to therapy. I started going to therapy like 2 or 3 years ago, every week for a while. Now I go like every other week. And it's very important to me to just have that awareness and mindfulness about what's going on in my brain. And sometimes things come up that I didn't even think were an issue, or, I didn't even realize, like, oh, wow, I was carrying a lot of anxiety this week. I didn't even realize it until my therapist asked me that question, or I do have this fear, or I do have blah, 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 blah. So I'm a big proponent of it. I said this recently in a vlog too. I also understand that therapy is a privilege because it does cost money in most places. And so, at the very least, be aware of your feelings, be aware of what's going on and of your stress levels too. Cause sometimes it like, I just am acting on autopilot almost. I'm like so busy. Things are just ramping up, ramping up, ramping up. And I don't even realize like how busy or how stressed I am until I see it written down or I look at my calendar and I'm like, I have not had a day off in like 2 weeks, or I have not had a meeting free day in months. So just whatever you need to do, whether that's journaling, whether that is using your calendar, whether that is checking in with a therapist, checking in with a friend, make sure that you are just checking in with yourself so that you can kind of anticipate your best. Sometimes, it's unpredictable, but I can usually say, all right, I'm going to have a busy season in a couple of months. I need to make sure that I am, doing what I need to do to prevent things spinning out of control, if you will. The other thing that I think is important to do as an entrepreneur in terms of prevention is saving money. I know that doesn't really seem like it maybe fits in with a mental health conversation, but yeah, I would say I did like half of the workload as I had done year over year, the end of last year because I was going through some stuff. And the reason that was possible and the reason that was a no brainer for me is because I had saved so much money in the years before. If I would have just been blowing every single invoice, living like I was rich, I would not have maybe been able to do that, or I would have at least had a lot more anxiety about cutting down my hours, cutting down my client load, saying no to brand partnerships, not doing launches. I would have had a lot more stress about that if I would have known, like, you got to keep your lights on, literally. So just be smart about your money. I try to live as lean as possible and not sort of keep up with the Joneses. There are lots of things that I could afford to do. And of course, you need to prioritize your mental health by way of enjoying the fruits of your labor, having fun, taking vacations, buying yourself nice little treats and things like that. So there's a balance, but I try not to overdo it because this industry is weird. This career path is weird. One year I'm like, wow, I am so rich. Oh my gosh. And the next year I'm like, okay, All right. There are fluctuations with things. One of the easy things I think that almost anybody can do is open up just a high yield savings account. I'll share my referral link for mine that I use. It's Marcus by Goldman Sachs. They have a really good rate, one of the best usually. And my link actually gets you an additional percentage, I believe, or it gets you some type of bonus. I'll leave it down below. It is an affiliate link, so I'll get a little something for it, just full disclosure. But basically, taking your money, if you're getting an invoice and it's $5,000 and you're, using 2,000 of it for operating expenses, take that 3,000 and put it somewhere where it's going to earn a bunch of interest instead of just letting it sit in a checking account, because that will come back and help you if you ever need to take time off for any reason. The other thing that I would put in the prevention category is talking to people who get it. My therapist, first of all, she does kind of get it because she's, like a contractor. So I talk to her about business a lot and like the highs and lows that come with business because she kind of gets it. But even more important, not more importantly, love my therapist. Okay. I always wonder, does my therapist ever watch my videos? Anyway, just as importantly, I think, is just talking to peers and talking to people who understand your world. You're listening to this podcast, so I think that is a great start, but also just make friends with other freelancers, make friends with other people who do what you do. I am a part of a couple of different masterminds where we get together every other week or so. We talk highs, lows, wins, bad, happy, sad, all the things. And, it is really easy to like let your brain kind of spin out into anxiety and things. Let's just say it's a slow month for brand deals. It's a slow month for course sales. And it's easy for me to be like, oh my gosh, it's just me. The world's ending. Everything's terrible. But if I talk to a group of people who are like, oh yeah, same for me. Or, oh, here's this thing that I did to reverse that. Or that it just makes things a lot less doom and gloom. When I say that HoneyBook changed my life, you might say I'm being dramatic, but honestly, I'm just keeping it real with you, okay? When I first started my freelance business, my Google Docs were like on fire. I would just manually do everything. It worked for like the first client or two, but once I really started to scale and take my business seriously, it just didn't cut it anymore. It didn't cut it in terms of efficiency, but it also didn't cut it in terms of professionalism. People wanted an elevated experience, a seamless experience, a white glove kind of concierge style experience, and HoneyBook can help you do exactly that for your clients. You can onboard clients with ease, book meetings with them, have them fill out forms. You can send through proposals, invoices, help your clients pay in the way that feels the best to them, whether that's a payment plan, whether that's setting up recurring payments. You can send them contracts that are attorney drafted. This is so, so important. Protect your business and your clients, and so much more. They even have these really cool automations, which basically are like having an assistant without having an assistant. So somebody can fill out a form and then HoneyBook can automatically send them an email saying, hey, we can't wait to, have our discovery call with you. I can't recommend HoneyBook anymore. I'm going to leave my link down in the show notes, which will get you an additional savings and also enable you to give them a try for free. So sign up, link down below. I hope you enjoy it. Now, what about in the moment? What about you realize I can't do this, I'm going through this. And again, I just want to say, like, I know that there are varying levels of this. If you are in a true crisis, I want you to focus on staying alive. Forget all of this stuff, truly. Where I was at recently is I was just kind of burnt out. I was kind of stressed out. I was kind of like feeling a little depressed, and so I kind of was struggling to find motivation. I wasn't in a true crisis situation. And I think that's the thing, is like I had to remember my why. I had to remember why I was really doing this. And I say that for a couple of reasons. I say that because that is what did get me to continue showing up less than I was. I was doing it at a reduced rate, but I wasn't thinking like, oh my gosh, I need to be so cool and impressive. I was thinking, wow, there's going to be people who miss me if I don't post that video. There are going to be people who need what I have to offer if I don't show up to that class or that call, or if I don't host this round of SMMA or like whatever it is. And so keeping that in mind, I think, can sometimes be the motivation that you need. But it can also help you readjust your expectations a little bit. Because truthfully, I never started freelancing. I never started a business to get rich. I wanted to live a good life. I wanted to make enough. I wanted to make more, than I grew up with. But I didn't necessarily put be a millionaire on my bucket list. I didn't necessarily, say have a six-figure month every month or whatever. Like, who cares? Nobody even knows that. Like, nobody even sees that. It really, I'll tell you, as somebody who has experienced some pretty big, like flashy numbers and milestones, feels good for like a minute. And then you're like, all right, but I'm tired. I'll say maybe that motivates some. For me, that doesn't. What motivates me is being able to be safe and have a nice place to live and all that stuff. So there are some financial goals that I need to set up to achieve those things. But it's not to be like the flashiest person in the room. It really isn't. So remember your why and then focus on what is enough to get there. You might be totally fine making half or, two-thirds or, whatever, three-quarters of what you made last year, meaning that you can probably do half or a third or, a quarter less work than you did last year. With that, focus on tasks that you can put on autopilot. That's my second tip. That's the second thing that I did. So the thing that I've always been the most consistent about in my business is my podcast because it is such a repeatable system for me. I literally never move this camera. I never move this camera. It's always set up. I have everything I need. I've been doing it for so long and it's a consistent performer in my business. Some episodes do better than others, but like more or less, I kind of know what I'm going to get and I know how to do it. And it's a huge bang for my buck, if you will, bang for my time in that I film once and then I get like so much other content for social media, for email, for, if I wanted to start a blog, which I don't have, all of those different things are created just by sitting here 1 hour a week. So focus on things like that. For me, at least, filming cell phone content is like, wow, like I cannot do that, especially when I am feeling low energy because it just requires, and maybe you feel differently. Maybe you feel the opposite. So figure out what that thing is for you, but focus on the thing that you can really kind of do in your sleep and show up for easily. Another thing that I've done a lot over the past year or so is team up with people and with brands. I have a second podcast. Some of you may have listened to it. It's called Content Creator Confessions. It's hosted alongside one of my dear friends. And I'd been wanting to launch Content Creator Confessions for years. I actually got the idea for this years ago, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. I bought the domain and I created the branding and everything. And my idea for it was to be an interview show, kind of like a Call Her Daddy for content creators. And maybe I'll still do that. Maybe we'll still do that. Who knows? But that was my initial idea for it. And motivation wasn't there. Time wasn't there. All the things. And I really realized last year, I was like, I'm struggling to show up. I am struggling to do all the things. But what I wasn't struggling to do is hang out with my friend because that made me feel better. And so, it was very much a way to kind of get two things done at once in that you're able to have friendship, lean on your friend, but also maybe produce something from it and lean on their strength a little bit and vice versa. If and when he were to ever be struggling, I could pick up some of the slack for him and I absolutely would. I've been in a lot of partnerships this year. Actually, I'm working on a documentary project with somebody else too, which realistically would have just never gotten off the ground if it was just left up to me and my poor motivation this year. Affiliate stuff has been big too. You guys know that I'm a HoneyBook affiliate and I love working with them. That's great. I just got off today. I just got off a call with my friend Nina Zeta. She has a company called Sidewalker Daily, and we did like a collaborative webinar. So that was really fun because, again, we get to lean on each other's energy. It was to sell her course. So I didn't have to deal with any of the order fulfillment or any of like the tech side of things. I just kind of showed up with my audience and, it was great. And same thing for affiliates like HoneyBook. I don't need to worry if somebody's mad and they need a refund and they're calling me mean names when I just had a terrible mental health day. I don't deal with that side of it. I talk about it and I move on. Like I'm done with it. Then they just pay me when they pay me. So figure out if there are things like that you can do that can kind of take some of the pressure off because I'll say, yeah, that has been hard. I got a really like harassing email one time on a very terrible day of my life last year. And it was I'm laughing, but it was really hard when somebody is literally calling you, what did they call me? They called me a grade A loser, which is hilarious. It is hilarious that they called me a grade A loser. I'm sorry. At least I'm glad they came with the jokes. But I mean, truly, like, it's hard to hear hurtful things about yourself when you already are feeling down about yourself. So pass some of that off if you can. You can also focus on behind the scenes type of work. Maybe you're a YouTuber and you need to get off camera for a little bit. Edit people's videos. Maybe you're a social media manager who does a lot of client facing work. You're meeting with the clients, you're showing up on the calls. Hire somebody, hire an operations person or account manager who can take on some of that or at least be there with you on some of those client calls. So maybe you can do some of the more behind the scenes work, the computer work again, apply for gigs on Upwork, things like that. I did not get to that point in my struggle because, like I said, I had saved money and was just kind of like, okay, it's okay if I make a little bit less. But if I were looking to replace my income, I probably wouldn't have been like, ooh, let me get a bunch of brand deals. I probably would have just went on Upwork and gotten a couple of like quick and easy jobs to just pay the bills because that was where I was at. I didn't want to be like song and dance on YouTube. And then lastly, that's the thing is it's about prioritizing, right? And this goes back to just my evergreen advice when you are in business is focus on those revenue generating activities first. Put on your own gas mask, if you will. You've just got to do enough. Do enough to get you the lifestyle. Again, going back to your why and all of that. Do enough to get you there. Don't stress about it. Don't overthink about doing all the extra things necessarily. So focus on making that money first, focus on paying those bills first. And then if you find the motivation, if you find the inspiration to do that passion project or to do that next level thing, absolutely go for it. And there are tons of things we all know in entrepreneurship. There are always a million things you could be doing with your day, right? I can always think of 5,000 like spring cleaning type of activities. But when I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling uninspired, it's just like, what do I got to do to pay the bills and move on? So adopt that mindset, if you're feeling down. And I hope you're not feeling down, but if you are, I hope this helped. Let me know if you have any other thoughts in the comments if you're watching on YouTube. I would love to hear from you all if you care to share. I know it's a little bit more of a personal topic, but yeah, I just want to end by saying it is so important to prioritize this stuff. It's so important to do those regular check-ins. It's so important to build a support system. Reach out to some people that you admire and say, hey, listen, how can we support each other? Can we do a monthly Zoom or something like that? Because it is a really lonely space if you let it be. And as freelancers, as CEOs, as entrepreneurs, as content creators, the face of our brands, we are our most valuable assets. Like there is no replacing me on this YouTube channel, in my business. Like, sure, I could hire a CEO, I could hire somebody else to host this YouTube channel, but really and truly, like, I am the brand. And maybe that sounds like full of myself or something. I hope it doesn't, but it's just the truth. Like, there is no replacing you. If your motivation, if your, energy, if that goes out, the whole ship can come down. So it really is very important to monitor and to just prioritize. That's the most important thing. I just want to say that. Like there's always more that you can do. There's always going to be a certain level, I think, of like guilt for me of, oh, I should be doing more. I should be pushing myself harder. But at the end of the day, if I push myself too hard, this whole thing's going to crumble. And what's worse, right? Making $50,000 less this year or like burning my entire business to the ground. Keep that in mind, not to scare you, not to make you feel bad, but just it's very important, you guys. I'm telling you. Big sis advice. I'm actually the little sister in my family, but I feel like I'm a big sister to you all sometimes. Anyway, I care about you. I know that sounds weird to say, but you matter. You're important. And I do appreciate and care for you all so, so much. So thanks for being here. Leave me a comment if you care to. Leave me a thumbs up on YouTube, and I will talk to you in my next episode. Bye.